I have a bachelor's in management and accounting management, so and I also have a master's in healthcare administration. So a little bit of information about my work experience, though. I worked on probably 8 different airframes. I was involved in safety of flight. I looked at a lot of regulations. At one point, when I was in Iraq, I managed 31 civilians and worked directly with another 30 Iraqis, and worked directly on an Army base with the Army and Air Force. So I've been able to work across a wide spectrum of opportunities. So and dealt with a lot of regulations, having worked on a nuclear bomber for 10 years. So I think all of it translates into a person with willing to do the job and be able to provide maximum benefit for the people of the state. So.
Thank you, Stephen. The next question, we're going to ask Brian Milan to take this one first. It deals with the office of the Lieutenant Governor and something you've been in charge of, but we would like to know your opinion about ballot initiatives in general, and it's a 2-part question, and then your position on the Stand for Alaska versus Stand for Salmon.
The initiative process is established in Alaska's Constitution. It was upgraded and modified at the time that Alaska's population began to grow. It is a considered, thoughtful process. It is designed to allow the people of Alaska to, as the initiative name says, to initiate action on the part of the government that might otherwise not happen. I believe that it is a good process and is working just fine. I believe that the Stand for Salmon initiative is a bridge too far, with salmon running under it. And we do need to strengthen our habitat and ecosystem management, but this initiative goes too far.
Thank you. If you pass the microphone over to Sharon Jackson. Sharon, your opinion about ballot initiatives in general, and then specifically the one we're looking at, Prop 1, Stand for Alaska or Stand for Salmon.
The initiative process is the most powerful process we have as a people. For change, it is the people to initiate the change. So as Lieutenant Governor, it would be a privilege and an honor to receive these initiatives, see what it is the people are asking for, and make sure that it is moving in the direction being requested. On the initiative, Prop 1, there is an interesting factor to the initiative. We need more individual, hardworking people to initiate legislation, not special interest group with big money buying us out. So I say Stand for Alaska.
Thank you. Edie Greenwald, the same question about ballot initiatives in general, your opinion, and the Prop 1.
Well, I think the ballot initiatives is constitutional, and it is a great way for the people to be involved in their government. I was just speaking with somebody who's on the fisheries board, and there's a process there where people can submit their changes, and it can be looked at. And the other thing with the Stand for Alaska and Stand for Salmon, I studied both of them early on because I knew this would be coming up, and I found that the Stand for Alaska is a more balanced and scientific approach. And the Stand for Salmon, we all want salmon, we love our salmon, and we definitely don't want to do anything to hurt the ecosystem or our fisheries. So I think we need to stand up for Alaska, and hopefully people vote no on Prop 1. Thank you.
Thank you. And that brings us over to Deborah Call. Deborah, your opinion of ballot initiatives and the Stand for Alaska or Stand for Salmon.
As others have said, ballot initiatives are very important to our democracy. That's how public gets a chance to move initiatives that maybe not always will be successful through a standard legislative session, to get their voice heard. So that's the shining star of a democracy. On the Stand for Salmon issue, I, like everyone in Alaska, support protecting our salmon. And what is happening, though, in this particular initiative, as Byron says, is a bridge too far. However, one of the things I've done recently is work with the 8 villages around Cook Inlet. We're concerned about the river closures in this area. And we as the villages that I was working with were looking to say, well, what have we done as villages to protect the habitat of our fish? And it was amazing how what we found out. We found out habitat was being protected and there was hatcheries being in production. So there's a lot of things we can do with it, with an initiative, but I think it's more to be done with legislation.
Thank you, Deborah. Now we'll pass the microphone all the way back there to Stephen, and we will ask him the same question about his opinion of ballot initiatives and the Proposition 1, sir.
Okay, first of all, ballot initiatives. It's important that ballot initiatives be clear and understandable by the people that are voting on those initiatives, first of all. And second of all, they need to be put on a primary election versus, not primary, a general election versus a primary election. Because when you put things on the primary election, you're not going to have the voters that need to be there to be able to weigh in on the message. So as far as Prop 1 goes, I feel that what we have right now with a federal government that's willing to reduce regulations and what's going on with this initiative is it's trying to block what we're trying to do at the federal level. So the state needs to look at reducing some of these regulations so that we can, first of all, ensure the safety of the salmon and also ensure that industry is also productive. Thank you.
And Kevin Meyer on ballot initiatives and Prop 1.
Okay, great, thanks. No, I think initiatives are important. That's a way for the people to get laws passed that for whatever reason the legislature isn't. And so the people always need to have that ability. And fortunately, you won't see too many initiatives if we're doing our job correctly as a legislator, because if the people want something, then we need to have the committee hearings, work through it, and then get it passed. But I do think that this particular initiative is not good, and I don't think the majority of the people of Alaska do want this, because the way the process is working now is working well. So why do we need to have additional permitting and regulations? And your efforts here in challenging this from a constitutional standpoint, hopefully we'll win that. And this we won't have to worry about this. But we are having hearings in state affairs on it right now, and the various agencies have been coming out and showing us what the impact is to the state, and it's going to be huge, millions of dollars.
Thank you. Sharon Jackson will be first on this next question. Sharon, the battle to open up ANWR for oil and gas exploration and development has been fought for many, many decades. It now is open. Your opinion on whether that'll be a blessing or a curse, and any specifics we might do to expedite getting more oil in the pipeline?
Well, I think that is a double-edged sword. It's great to have it open, but to modify the 50-50 constitutional giving more of our rights to the federal government, I don't think that was smart to do. And where the resources will be wonderful. Alaska has many great resources, and as long as we are responsible with today's technology, Alaska has brighter days to come. But we must be smart about it and respect process.
And Lieutenant Governor Byron Minoltz, ANWR being open, a blessing or a curse, sir?
Well, I believe that the 1002 area being made available and the permitting process going forward is more than timely. It is something that is necessary for Alaska's future. It is going to allow the state to determine, and the federal government to determine, whether the oil there is able to be brought into production. It will add, if what has already been forecast as probable, it will add significantly to reserves on the North Slope that are necessary to continue to put oil in a three-quarter empty pipeline, as Governor Walker is fond of saying.
Thank you very much. And Kevin Meyer, ANWR, Opening, blessing, curse. What might we do to expedite getting more oil?
Thank you. No, opening Anwar is a blessing, and it's something that we've been talking about for the, as I said, I've been up here almost 40 years, so we've been talking about how do we open Anwar, how do we open Anwar. So finally we got it open, and that's great, and now we need to take advantage of that. We actually have a president who's supportive of us developing our resources. We have a good, strong delegation back there fighting for us as well. It's going to create more jobs. It's hopefully there's oil there. We don't really know for sure, but at least now we can go look. I know there was some concern that the 90-10 split is now 50-50. I wasn't there. I don't know what arrangements, what negotiations went on with Murkowski and Sullivan to get Anwar open and then to have to settle for 50% instead of 90%. But all I know is that even 50% is better than 0%, which is what we have now. Thank you.
And Stephen Wright. Anwar.
Yeah, I also believe it's a two-edged sword. We lost some rights as a state, and as we lose rights, I mean, we still haven't gotten all the federal lands promised to us from statehood. So I think that's something that's important as well. We need to look at and make sure that we're not losing when we think we're winning. So something else that I think that's important is we need to have the easements and the accesses so that so we can get ahead of the game and not. The way it's taken a lot of time, I think we can cut that time down a lot by working together and be able to facilitate the process of getting through all the whatever studies that have been done and that may also need to be done. So I think it's something that we need to look at closely, and I think it's also an important step in the right direction, and we're really going to have to leverage the federal government and make sure that, if they want 50-50, they're going to be putting in roads and rail lines and all kinds of things that are going to have to be doing a lot more than what we currently have right now. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Let's go back here to Edie Grunwald with this question about Anwar, blessing or curse, Edie.
Edie Grunwald, Lieutenant Governor candidate, and I think that it's a big blessing that we now have Anwar open, and we are a resource-driven state, and this gives us the opportunity to grow business, get more oil, and do what we need to do. So I think it's a good thing. Thanks.
Any specific thing we might be able to do, or you could do as Lieutenant Governor to expedite it?
Expedite it. Well, I can be the best partner to the governor, and whatever he wants to do, I can help negotiate and work with whoever needs to be worked with. I'm a great people person, and reach out and help make it happen.